Hello and welcome to this podcast to discuss IREX Technologies' participation in the Fortune Brainstorm Tech Conference. Joining me to tell us about the conference is Kevin Hamilton, North American CEO for IREX Technologies. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks for joining me today. You are participating in a panel at the Fortune Brainstorm Tech Conference on July 23rd. What will you be discussing?
The panel is being hosted by Josh Quittner, the technology editor for Time Magazine, and the title of the conference, the panel conference, is Blowing Up the Browser. So I think Josh's perspective on this is to look at ways that companies are using the internet without using a web browser to make money. In the case of IREX, we've got an application that runs on our device that reads content, although the content is delivered via the internet.
Can you explain how IREX Technologies' e-reader plays into this phenomenon?
Sure. Well, obviously the internet is a powerful way to transport data, to transport content, and IREX would be using the internet for content, to provide content just like any other provider. However, rather than using cloud computing or some other form of browser-based computing, the application to manipulate the content, in our case to read the content, actually resides on the device itself. So we have a very elegant, purpose-built device that would use a very efficient application that is native to the device to read the content, manipulate the content, allow the consumers to use the content.
The topic of e-readers has made quite a splash in the media lately. How does IREX play into this discussion in the U.S.?
Well, you're right. There's been an awful lot said and written about e-readers in general. Amazon launched its Kindle product nearly 2 years ago and has done a fabulous job of developing the category. We think that the U.S. market is a very interesting market. IREX is a leader in the technology of e-paper devices. The founders of IREX developed the technology while at Philips and then subsequently commercialized that into a number of products that have been sold mostly in the European marketplace. The consumer leisure reading market is very attractive, very interesting, and I would say that the fact that we're here with a management team and a structure in North America probably says a lot about our future and the fact that we're looking very carefully at this market. We would invite our listeners to stay tuned. I'm sure we'll have some additional announcements to make in the coming future.
If you decide to bring an e-reader device to the U.S., how would you take on the likes of Amazon and Sony or even Apple?
Well, those are three powerful consumer product companies. We have great respect for them and for the devices that they've developed. Amazon's approach has been a little different with a closed platform with dedicated content. When we look at it from the consumer's perspective, we'd like to think that we could do what's best for the consumer. And we think that a consumer ought to be able to buy content from any source, use that content on any device, and then be able to take it and to move that content to any new device or other device that they may choose to use. And so if we were to come to this market, we would try to be very consumer friendly, try to be much more focused on doing the right thing for the consumer, which we think argues for an open platform with open content.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. This podcast was recorded on July 20th, 2009, and at the time of recording, all information was factually accurate. Because this will reside on the internet for a period of time, IREX assumes no duty to update the podcast to reflect new information. Thank you for listening.